Okay, so this will be a look at the Solar A2.7W. I was looking for a replacement 7-string as I didn't really like my Ibanez all that much, and a friend broke the neck on my older RG. So I decided to look into a smaller brand since I wanted something a little different but not too different. Solar seemed like the option for me as some of the other brands have weird controversies or QA issues around them, and I do watch some of Old's content. I did hear some issues with their QA though, mostly cracking ebony fretboards and such, so it was a bit of a gamble, and apparently it's hard to get opinions on the instruments since they have a unique, wider approach to endorsements. YouTuber brands also somewhat seem to be polarizing, like a mini version of online politics. So I decided I'd step out of my comfort zone and make a gear video. On that note, this guitar was bought completely with my own money because just look at my quote-unquote channel. As a nobody that makes uninspired videos for 2 or 3 people, I can't even bother to get my DSLR for videos. I'm not even a musician. I'm a full-time software programmer. However, I've had a couple of guitars to compare across, but enough about that. The A2.7W is on the simpler side of the magnificent Ibanez-worthy model names, but that joke's been made before. I believe it means body and config type A, second tier, 7-string in white. I picked this because of the clean aesthetic, and I haven't played Solar instruments before, so I wasn't comfortable going all in with the top model, due to the aforementioned QA rumors. Fortunately, there didn't seem to be issues with mine in terms of fit and finish. Anyways, I would expect problem guitars to be the minority of everything coming out of the factory, just how small of a minority. This was a direct order, and once in stock, it shipped to me in the SF Bay area in just a little under a week. Out of the box, the tuning was off, but it's traveled quite the distance from location to location, so I'm not too concerned about that. Plus, I usually played tuned down anyway. Instead of normal D'Addario strings that have been sitting in the factory in a while, it came with blacksmith strings coated, a nice touch since I change strings once every decade after I've coated strings. Gauge aside, I've only ever noticed a tone difference between new strings and factory installed strings that have been turned black and dull after playing through one song, or maybe even leaving it in the air for a day. In terms of features, it's got a maple neck, mahogany body, so this guitar is surprisingly light for my impression of that wood and being a 7-string. It's got Duncan Solar passive humbuckers set to a 5-way switch with volume and tone. The more detailed specs you can get off the web, so I won't go into that here. I'll just look at a few standout items. The nut is graphite, where plastic ones are quite common from what I see. The cutaways are deep, and when compared to the Ibanez RG with a bolt-on as opposed to the set-through neck, it allows good access to the upper frets. The satin finish is consistent. I've heard the sentiment that worn and gloss is smooth and fast, and similar to satin. So, if you think along those lines, this is a head start. The upper strap pin is also mounted on the rear instead of the tip, and I've had the tip mounted locks break on me before from dropping it to the floor. Reverse headstocks are also standard. There's debate if it makes a difference because 0 frets at the nut, so scale length is key, but especially with a slippery graphite nut, which the strings slide over, I believe it does make a difference when you're bending. The higher strings are now shorter than the lower strings, and as with shorter scale length guitars, such as a Les Paul, lower tension results in bendier strings. So tone varies greatly by player, and the rest of the signal chain and even U2 compression, so as a point of reference, this is very old RG2550E that's been butchered by years of modding and remodding. However, it does have a DiMarzio evolution in the bridge position, which should be a fairly common pickup heard by a fair amount of people. I'm running through this a Headrush amp modeler, mostly with a modified Trooper setting, the same I use for most of my newer recordings and such. That's quite enough of my socially awkward mumbling though. Guitar's about riffs and licks, not words. Okay, so pretty clearly I'm not used to 7-string spacing and the feel, so it was a little difficult to play as I mostly play 6-string, but it was easier to struggle through than the fan frets of my previous 7-string. Won't deny a lot of practice will be needed. It's not a fault in the instrument though, just the nature of 7 strings. And I probably have some more adjustments to do on the instrument itself, as I realized the action was a bit high from the factory setup. So in time, hopefully, it's a little easier to play. But from these quick test snippets regarding sound, it seemed to me the tone is quite a bit warmer than I anticipated, to the point where lower rhythm parts really lacked treble bite when the neck pickup was used, which isn't quite ideal anyway. The neck pickup does seem to also have quite a bit lower output than the bridge, more than I'm probably used to. And second and fourth positions seemed to split the coils of the humbuckers, as the tone was quite glassy and accented, and I guess the middle position is just both the pickups hot. In closing, this is one of the first guitars I've bought where I regretted it right out of the box, and that's not a knock on the product itself. I regretted not spending the extra few hundred on one series or something very visually distinct like a Vinter. The build is solid, but the feature set is a bit bare bones for me, and you could probably get a comparable loadout for lower prices with a mainstream brand such as ESP, Schecter, or Ibanez. I'd probably go for one of those if I'm not aiming for the full featured 1 series models. There are nice design touches, I will concede, but the first outside reaction I got from this instrument was, is that an Ibanez knockoff? Overall though, I'd say it gets Nero's umu of approval, so I'll keep it around.